We're going to discuss the MSc Physiotherapy pre-registration program. My name is Marian O'Connor from UCD Graduate Studies, and joining me this evening is Dr. Cliona O'Sullivan and from the School of Public Health, Physiotherapy and Population Science. Also, we've got students, second-year students, Matt Cleary, Farah Fariha and Cody Waters. These are our second-year students on the program. Both Matt and Farah are from Canada and Cody is from the United States, and they will be giving us an overview of the student experience on the MSc Physiotherapy. I'd like to thank you all for joining us this evening. And the format of this evening's presentation is Dr. O'Sullivan will give us an overview of the program by a short presentation. And following on from that, then the students, Matt, Cody, and Farah will talk about the student experience. We will also be taking questions. There's a Q&A little button on the top of the video screen, and you can ask your questions there. We will try and take your questions throughout the presentation. We will do the presentation first. Dr. O'Sullivan will do the presentation, and then we will take any questions that are pertain to the program. We will also then go to the student experience, and then following on from that, take further questions. So if I can, I'm just going to hand over now to Dr. O'Sullivan, and she will take us through the presentation. Thank you.
Hi, good evening everybody, and thank you Marian for hosting this event, and to the Graduate Studies Office. I'd also like to thank Cody, Matt and Farah for taking the time to participate in this evening, and taking the time out of what's a very hectic schedule for them as they're coming to the end of their program here with us in UCD. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about University College Dublin, a little bit about physiotherapy, and then provide a very brief outline of our program, our MSc Physiotherapy pre-registration program here at UCD. UCD is ranked in the top 1% of higher education institutions worldwide, and it's Ireland's largest university with over 30,000 students. It's a research-intensive university with 7,500 graduate students, many of whom are pursuing PhD or master's research degrees. We have a very strong international student cohort representing more than 120 countries worldwide, and we also have a strong alumni network that extends throughout the globe. UCD campus is located just south of Dublin city centre, and it's a beautiful big campus with excellent facilities. UCD Physiotherapy is part of the UCD School of Public Health, Physiotherapy and Population Science, and we're very lucky to be closely aligned to our colleagues in Public Health and Sport and Exercise Science within our school. Together with two other schools, the School of Medicine and Medical Science, Nursing, Midwifery and Health Systems, we form the College of Health Sciences, and we're based in the UCD Health Sciences Centre, which is a very modern and purpose-built health sciences centre with excellent facilities for the training of health professional students. UCD Physiotherapy then is the largest physiotherapy school in Ireland, with the largest cohort of both undergraduate and postgraduate students. At any one time we have up to 240 students pursuing bachelor's education in physiotherapy, and excluding our master's program in pre-registration physiotherapy, we would have about 40 students pursuing other postgraduate degrees and research degrees. We host a number of innovative programs, which I will speak to in a moment, and we also pride ourselves on excellent teaching and research facilities. We have 11 full-time academic members of staff that are research active across a range of physiotherapy areas, including communication, pain, chronic pain, bone health, health services research, and of course research into the main pillars of physiotherapy practice, so that is musculoskeletal, cardiorespiratory and neurological disorders. We have very strong links with our excellent clinical partners, both in Dublin and outside Dublin, and really our clinical partners form a really important component of our program, and that is, the clinical education program. We also have strong links with sporting bodies such as the GAA and the IRFU. And we also attract a number of international students each year, particularly since we started our MSc pre-registration program almost 3 years ago. So just coming back to the programs that we run here in UCD, we have two entry-level programs. Our bachelor's program, which has been running since the mid-50s, and our MSc program that I'm going to speak to you about tonight, that's been running since 2012. We also host a number of postgraduate programs for physiotherapists, so in the areas of sports physiotherapy, musculoskeletal physiotherapy, acupuncture, connected health, and advanced physiotherapy studies. And our master's program in neuromusculoskeletal physiotherapy is recognised by IFOMP, the International Federation of Orthopaedic Manual Therapists. So coming on to our pre-registration program then, the aim of this program is to provide an education to students in an environment where physiotherapy flourishes both academically and professionally, and we endeavour to foster in our students a spirit of inquiry and excellence in practice. The program is designed to provide an education that meets the requirements of students who wish to pursue careers as physiotherapists, and really our graduates are provided with a very sound academic foundation on which to build a career in any branch of physiotherapy practice upon graduation. The next two slides, I'm just going to take you through briefly an overview or an outline of the program. It is a 24-month program. It runs over 3 semesters over 2 years, and I think that the students will testify that it is quite an intensive program. In year 1, our students are with us here in UCD all through semester 1 and semester 2, covering 3 large clinical modules which form the pillars really of physiotherapy practice, and that is cardiorespiratory, musculoskeletal, and neurological physiotherapy. The students also in year 1 undertake an overarching professional practice module, and this addresses aspects of physiotherapy practice that are generic to all aspects of physiotherapy. For example, professionalism, communication skills, health and safety, infection control, etc. As I said previously, clinical education, it really is the backbone of all of our programs here, and the students start their first clinical education piece in the summertime of year 1, and they undergo 3 5-week placement blocks in a range of clinical settings and a range of clinical specialties. The students, after a short break, return to UCD for year 2, where they undertake a second professional practice module. And this one really builds on the first module, and it addresses more complex aspects of physiotherapy practice, such as healthcare policy, healthcare reform, medico-legal issues, service development, etc. The advanced neuromusculoskeletal physiotherapy module also builds on year 1 modules, where we take a very I suppose, advanced look at complex case presentations. We cover pain signs in a lot of detail, and sports physiotherapy. And we also do another module in year 2, which really concentrates on the niche areas of physiotherapy practice called specialist physiotherapy practice. And an example of some of the topics covered here are specialized pediatrics, women's health, lymphedema, burns and plastics. And for this module, we invite a lot of the time external practitioners who with expertise in the relevant areas to come in and teach. And this module is really valuable module for the students. And finally, in year 2, the students undertake an independent piece of research under the supervision of an academic member of staff. And we try to align the students to their topics, before they leave, for the summer placements, and the students complete their projects then over year 2. Embedded in semester 2 is a 4th placement block of 8 weeks. And finally, once the students finish up with us at the end of semester 2 of year 2, they undertake the last piece of work on this program, and that is an elective placement. Now, the elective placement is where the students can elect to travel, or they can elect to go on placement, in a specialty of their choice, and we endeavour to facilitate this as much as possible. Our program is fully accredited by the Irish Society of Chartered Physiotherapists, a member organisation of the World Confederation for Physical Therapy. And that means that upon graduation from this program, students are eligible to register to practice with the ISCP. Now, many of our students, because they are from overseas, they do choose to return home to work. And in this case, the students must look into the credentialing requirements for registration in each of the authorities where they wish to work. But there are many UCD physiotherapists physiotherapy graduating throughout the world in physiotherapy. We do have, due to the intense nature of the program, we do have some admission requirements. The first one being a minimum 2-1 degree by the summer of 2015. Apologies, there's a typo there. And this relates approximately to a 3.08 GPA and a 4-point scale. We also have a number of prerequisites requirements for the program, and these include anatomy, physiology, exercise science, physics and biomechanics, chemistry, biochemistry, behavioral sciences, and research methods and statistics. The closing date for applications for September is the 31st of May 2015. And finally, the fees are for EU students are €15,000 per year, and for non-EU students €20,900 per year. I've put a link up there with some information regarding scholarships. And also in the final page, there's some further information on other information links that may be useful to some people watching. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Cliona, for that. If I can just take a couple of questions here, Cliona, that pertain to the course. Can you do this course straight after doing health and performance science, or is this something else that has to be done between the two?
No, Health and Performance Science is one of our undergraduate programs here in the UCD School of Public Health, Physiotherapy and Population Science. And graduates of that program do meet our prerequisite requirements. So no further, no further degree or anything like that is required.
Great. Okay. Are placements set by the course directors, or are students able to arrange their own placements provided they meet the course standard? What does clinical placement occur, or sorry, excuse me, when does clinical placement occur each semester?
Yeah, so we have in total 5 clinical placement blocks on this program, and our practice education coordinator coordinates all of the placements, and does she decides on where the students are going. It is important for registration that students have adequate hours of musculoskeletal, neurological and cardiorespiratory placement. So that's why the university really oversees the distribution of placements 1 to 4. For placement 5, the student can choose their own placement and where to go on placement. But I suppose a significant proportion, about 40% of our program, is actually clinical education. So we have very close links with our clinical partners, and we have designated partners both in Dublin and outside of Dublin that facilitate placements for this program.
Great, Cliona, thank you. Matt, if I can, or sorry, Cody, if I can go to you to maybe give us an overview of the course, and just to give us the student experience from the course perspective.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Marian. So, like Cliona was saying, like it is an accelerated program. It definitely has its challenges, but so far, like the course has been so good. The level of education that I've received has just been phenomenal. And I originally came into the course having done an athletic therapy and rehabilitation degree, and I wasn't exactly sure what would go on with transferring those skills. But basically, it's been such a I had the foundation, and it's just allowed me to really build on that in terms of a musculoskeletal focus, and also has given me both the neurological aspect and the cardiorespiratory. And one of the most important things that I found since starting is the fact that it's opened so many doors for me. Having got my education at UCD and in the master's program, because the United States requires only neurology and musculoskeletal experience, but pretty much the rest of the world, in terms of physiotherapy, they do cardiorespiratory as well. So if you want to work anywhere else in the world, having that cardioresp those cardio rest hours and that education is absolutely essential. If I would have got my education in the States, I would have had to do extra courses and certifications in order to be able to travel and practice anywhere else, which I feel like is a wonderful benefit of having traveled for my education. I don't regret a single second of it. And yeah, the course, especially the educators, the staff are all amazing, and not only just in terms of their knowledge and teaching abilities, but also as individuals. The last year has actually been really rough for me personally. Like I lost my dad in November, and a few other things like in this last year. But the staff have always been there to basically, like, they're always watching out for me, and like they notice when things aren't going well, and they take an interest. And it's really nice having kind of the small class size too. It's very personal, and you really feel like you're a part of the group. And like that's been really important to me as well. Now that I'm nearing the end of this, I definitely look back on it and think that those are the important things that I've gotten out of this program.
Thank you very much, Cody, for sharing that. If I can just go to you, Farah, and Matt, just to maybe give us some detail about your experience of the program.
Farah, you can go ahead.
Okay. Well, for the program itself, it is, as Cody is saying, is amazing on a educational, academic scale as well as on a personal scale. The small class size really makes you can really get to know everyone, teachers and your classmates. And also on placement, because we're only 18 people, and I think the maximum might be 20, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. It kind of really helps you learn better. You get to know the class better, and even on placement, you have educators and clinical tutors. So not only do they help you from a professional professional point of view, but also on a personal level. So clinical tutors, they're there to help you during your placement, but also in Dublin, some of us aren't from Dublin or Ireland in general, they'll help you get to one of your other sites, for example, or if you're going to a different county, so Sligo, where I was placed, you actually, they'll help you get to the house, for example. If you have any personal issues, you get sick, they'll tell you which doctor to go, they'll give you home visits. So there's a nice personal level to it. It's more of a holistic kind of way that they take care of us, it is great. Yeah. Great.
Thank you, Farah. Matt, if I can ask the same question of you?
Yeah, I mean, I've probably basically all covered between Farah and Cody, but no, just going back to the class size and stuff. Obviously throughout the semesters, there's a lot of work, and sometimes it can get pretty overwhelming. Trying to reach deadlines and all that, but having that small class size, you're kind of tightly knit crew, so there's no problem working together with people. And then our profs and are there. They're always on campus or somewhere, so if you have a question, they're always able to get in touch pretty easily.
Great.
And the facilities on campus, we have our own library and stuff in our own building, so whatever resources you need, they're right at your fingertips. So yeah.
Brilliant. Farah, if I can ask you about the clinical placements, what was your experience of those, or how do they work for you? Or
okay, well, for the first clinical placement, which was in the summer, the tutors they try to make sure that everyone gets a bit of everything. So a bit of MSK, musculoskeletal, a bit of cardiorest, a bit of neuro. And if you weren't able to get all of them, for example, or if you felt like you didn't get enough of one part, or you want more experience in one area, they'd actually try to cater to your needs for the next placement also. So the one in year 2, semester 2. So it's actually really good, because if anyone has any, for example, if you want to do peds, they'll really try to actually fulfill that little criteria also. So it's actually good in that way. And also, again, the tutors they're just brilliant because they really would help out with any personal issues. And also, even the educators, if the tutors weren't there for some reason, which is never the phone numbers and all.
Great. Okay. Matt, if I can just go to you maybe about Ireland and your student experience of studying in UCD and Dublin, and just to get a flavour of that.
Yeah, so I guess it's kind of important, especially as like international students like we are, you know, you want to make sure the school is good, but you also want to make sure that you like the city that you're moving to. I'm sure it can be a long 2 years if you don't like it here. But I have to say that Dublin is a fantastic city. You know, there's obviously lots to do and stuff, and the people are nice. It's a fairly young population, I guess, so there's always, you know, people around that in student age, and on campus, like, it's great student life. The facilities on campus, like I said, are amazing. There's like lots of restaurants and the gym facilities, and the, like, obviously the education part too. But like clinical placements, like you said, we're all over Ireland. We're not just stuck in Dublin for 2 years. So like I was pretty easy going with that. I didn't really request to go anywhere. So I got to see the west coast of Ireland and just north of Dublin. So that was cool, just to experience different cities and like take a break from Dublin, I guess, because it is a big city. I come from a small town, so big cities are kind of overwhelming at times. So it was nice to just get out in little smaller towns for a bit. And again, like, you're living with your classmates on placement, so you get to know them pretty well. And you can, you know, you work together, you party together.
Okay.
So yeah, no, it's good.
Great. Okay, I just have a question here now. Just for those of you watching, if you want to ask any questions, or if there's something that we haven't covered, there's a little Q&A on the event page, and please select that Q&A and just type your question, and we'll deal with it. I have one question in here. Is there any SUSI grants or other grants funding available for this Masters? There is. The SUSI grant applications, I believe, are opening this Thursday, and that would be, I think it's susi.ie. If you go to that website, you can check out your eligibility for the SUSI grant. So please do that. The international office also, ucd.ie/international. They have a page on scholarships that are available to different nationalities. So again, that's a really good resource for funding sources. So that's basically that. But if you have any questions, please ask us. I suppose if I can ask you, Cliona, about the assessment, and particularly the assessment of the clinical placement. How does that work, or, you know, how does that breakdown work?
So there's quite a lot of assessment throughout the whole program. Each module has at least, I think, you know, two pieces of assessment, because of the practical nature of the program. So, you know, we have a huge amount of practical classes. You know, there's quite a lot of practical exams. So each of the first year modules actually have 2 practical exams, and in the second year we also have 1 practical exam. In terms of clinical placement, the clinical educator and the tutor, and I just need to, I suppose, explain the difference between the two. In Ireland, we are unique where we have a clinical tutor system here, and what that means is that once our students are out on placement, there is a clinician on site who is a dedicated tutor to facilitate clinical education, and also we have practice educators, and these would really be the clinicians. So students would often be with during clinical placement with the clinicians for a lot of the day, and then the clinical tutor supplements their education. So the clinical assessment grade is often derived between using the, well, it's assessed using the clinical assessment form, and this is a common assessment form used for all Irish physiotherapy schools. And really the student is assessed from the point of view of their tutor and their practice educator. Now that constitutes 80% of their module grade, and 20% is then devoted to the student portfolio. And this is where the student writes a reflective essay on their experience on placement, and also a clinical log where they log the types of cases seen and number of hours in each place, and that's quite important. It's very important for the students, obviously, for their module, but it's also quite important for credentialing later if they choose to travel to other jurisdictions. Credentialing agencies look for kind of the detailed outline of their clinical education experience, so we do place a lot of importance on that.
Yeah, great.
Just to say as well, I suppose that some of our clinical partner sites are for the program are outside of Dublin, and where this is the case, accommodation is funded by the university, so the students they never have to pay double accommodation. So that's just important to note.
Actually, on that, we do have a question about the placements. Do you have, or do you do your placements in another part of Ireland, or could you stay in Dublin or close to Dublin? Or if you are placed somewhere else in Ireland, would that be with others or just yourself?
Yeah, so students, we have three main sites outside of Dublin, as Matt mentioned, Sligo, Wexford, and then the Meath Louth area. And students would always go there in groups of either 3 or 4, and accommodation is joint accommodation. We do also have 2 clinical placement sites in Dublin as well. But students, as they go through the program, they will have, for some placements, be placed outside of Dublin, but not really on their own unless it's their elective placement and they're choosing to travel somewhere on their own. But certainly for placements 1 to 4, students participate in groups really. Now they may be in different clinical areas on placement, so while they would be in the same clinical site, they might be undertaking different specialties.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, if we have any further questions, please enter them. Just using the Q&A at the top of the screen, if there's anything that we haven't covered. Just also, Cliona, if I could ask you perhaps about the thesis and the publication element. I believe there's a publication element and also a poster element to that thesis or final exam.
Yes, that's right. So each of the students must undertake an independent research project for the second year of their program. And evidence-based practice is a huge aspect to our practice, and we do try to foster the spirit of evidence-based and research in our students. So with this in mind, when they are preparing their thesis, it's actually prepared as a paper for publication, and they also prepare a poster for presentation at conference. And this means that that we are because the students carry out quite very, very good research projects that are very relevant to contemporary physiotherapy practice, so that as they're doing that piece of work, they're they're actually preparing the piece of work for publication once they finish the program. So that's how we work the research piece.
Okay. Also, I believe there's opportunity to study abroad through the UCD VO, the volunteer overseas option.
Yeah, this is a very exciting initiative. I suppose there's a long tradition of physiotherapy students electing to travel to developing countries as part of their clinical electives, and this is nothing new to our physiotherapy school. Physiotherapy students have travelled for years overseas, but 3 years ago we joined with UCD VO, or UCD Volunteers Overseas, and UCD VO is the only university student charity in Europe actually, and they aim to provide students with the opportunity to work during their undergraduate degree, or actually as postgraduates, to work in developing countries, on a voluntary basis. So as part of this, we've linked in with them, and we now have 4 clinical partners, 2 in Uganda and 2 in India, and where if students can choose to travel to these places over the summer for their elective placement. And this is really popular. I'm delighted to say it's really popular with our students, and as such it's actually become quite competitive. But this year, between the undergraduates and postgraduate cohort, there's 14 students travelling on elective placement to Africa and to India, and actually Farah is one of the students travelling to Africa in the summer. So this is it's really unique to UCD, and certainly something that we're very, very proud of.
Brilliant. Just also the GPA calculation, how is that calculated? Is that a accumulation of the 4 years GPA, or is it the final year GPA?
Now this really depends. This depends on the university where the students are coming from. So what we've noticed is that different universities use different GPA calculations. So some of them use the calculation throughout the 4 years of the undergraduate program, while others calculate it based on the final 2 years of the program. And really, I suppose we take the final GPA, so the final GPA that the previous university designates to that student performance. That's what we take into account.
Great. Yeah, we have a question here about the date for acceptance to the program. So when do you think you will be letting people know there, Cliona?
So the closing date is 31st of May, and it is, it's getting quite competitive, and we have a number of applications in already. So it really depends, but I think people would certainly know probably by the middle of June into the 3rd week of June, because it does take quite an amount of time to go through applications.
Brilliant. Okay. If there's we're just running a bit short on time now, so if there's anything else, please ask. I was wondering, sorry, go ahead, Cliona.
Just one of the things that I forgot to say in my presentation, but Farah and the students did lead it. The class size is very small, which I think is a strength of our program. I think currently we have 18 and 19 on our program, and it's always approximately 20 students per year is our intake, and that certainly facilitates teaching. We do a lot of small group work, tutorial work, practical classes, and also problem-based learning. We also use patient as educator sessions, so the small class size works really well, and it also allows the students, I think, to integrate into the university and integrate into the class quite quickly, and we've noticed that has worked very well. Great.
Guys, I don't know if you have anything else that you'd like to add or that we haven't covered. I'll open that to the floor.
I would just agree with that, definitely. Like the small class size really made it a lot easier to get to know the people and make friends. Like I would probably say that I'm a little bit more introverted than the rest, but even so, even though I'm a little bit outside of the normal circles, like we're still such a tight-knit group, and like any of us would give the shirt off our backs for the others. So it's definitely a really positive environment.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Cody. Okay, we have a question here actually. For the research project, do the students choose their own research title, or are they given titles by a supervisor or lecturer? Cliona, I'll hand that over to you.
Yeah, so what we do actually is because there's a number of research area kind of clusters that are ongoing in the school in physiotherapy here, what we do is we present the students towards the second semester of year 1 with the titles put forward by the various members of academic staff. And we try to cluster the students into those clusters, and that has got its positives, because it means that very often that they're working in groups, with the same patient population, and also that they have a certain level of expertise in terms of supervision. But where a student feels quite strongly about an area, very often students are coming from their prior degrees and they want to continue a piece of research that they've started in their undergraduate or look into the area, again, we do endeavour to facilitate that as well. But very often, I think, because it is such a tight timeline, we do encourage the students, I suppose, to, as much as possible, stay within the clusters of research that are ongoing in the school. But there's always leeway.
Great, thank you.
There's a wide variety of those research topics, though. Like, the list is pretty extensive that you can pick from.
Okay. Okay. Farah or Matt, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
No, nothing from mine. I think everything was said or covered. So.
Cool. And Farah?
There's no regrets at all. It was the right choice, definitely. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So I'd just like to thank you all for watching this evening, and also to our panel, Cliona, Cody, Matt, and Farah. Really appreciate it, and thank you. Bye-bye.